Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. Wanted to come to you this morning with a book haul. This last weekend, my family got the opportunity to go down to St. Joe and do a little bit of shopping and just kind of get out of the house and enjoy the nice weather. And so, of course, I had to make my way to the bookstore. And so I went to Books Revisited and I picked up a handful of books, and my youngest daughter was there with me, and she picked up a couple of small books, and yeah, we just enjoyed our family time out and about. And so I guess, you know, when you talk about going out and about and having fun, you can't leave out, you know, obviously my books are fun to get, but I also have some other interests. And so when I was at the mall, I went into one of the sports shops, and I went digging through the box of cards, and I found, I mean, these aren't like stellar baseball cards, but they were only $1 each. And when you consider the age of the card, yeah, it was, I thought, a pretty good deal anyway. So for $1, this is a 1967 Dick Groat card. And so I was happy to add that one to the collection. And there's a 1970, what was it? 1972 Tug McGraw. And so happy to add that. And then for another $1 was Denny McLain, a 1972 card. So yeah, I added those for, like I said, $1 each. And they had in this box a whole bunch of 1967 baseball cards. I was trying to get the names that were more familiar to me. There was a whole lot of just average cards. But, you know, like I said, 1967, those don't come around all the time. So it was nice to add those to the collection. And, of course, when I was at, where was it? Was it Target or Walmart? It might have been Walmart. They finally... they must have got their shipment of Hot Wheels in, because they finally filled up the I don't want to call it the case, but the shelf area where they keep their Hot Wheels. And I picked up a 1970 Chevy Chevelle car, and I thought that was pretty sweet. And then, again, each of these were just $1 each. So, and then I picked up Batman Arkham Asylum Batmobile, and it's like in, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's in a, like a forest green color. I thought that was pretty sweet. So anyway, I've got a couple of those Batman cars. I probably need to go back sometime and look at them and see if I've got, you know, try to get a whole collection from the year when they come out with those new Batman cards. So anyway, those were kind of fun. So let me get to the books, because that's probably why you're here. So I picked up some, let's see, 4 American history and then 2 world history books. So the first one in the stack is George Washington, Gentleman Warrior by Stephen Brumwell. And like I said, I found these at Books Revisited. Thought that was a pretty good deal for only a couple of bucks. And it is from Kirkus, and it's a 2012 book. Let me read the back cover to you. And this one's going to be a little bit hard to see. It says, "This vivid recounting of the formative years and military career of the father of his country follows Washington's journey from vicious backwoods skirmishes from the French, or with the French and their Native American allies, to his remarkable victory over the British Empire, an achievement that underpinned his selection as the first president of the United States of America. The book focuses on a side of Washington that is often overlooked, the fiery young frontier officer and the tough 40-something commander of the Revolutionaries' ragtag Continental Army. Award-winning historian Stephen Brumwell shows how, ironically, Washington's reliance on English models of gentlemanly conduct and on British military organization was crucial in establishing his leadership of the fledgling Continental Army, and in forging it into a weapon that secured American independence. Drawing on a wide range of sources, including original archival research, Brumwell brings a fresh new perspective on this extraordinary individual whose fusion of gentleman and warrior left an indelible imprint on history. So yeah, I'm excited. I'll give it a try. I'm always willing to give try out a new Washington biography that I have not read before. Now, it ended there at the back of the book. It said, this book focuses on Washington, on a side of Washington that is often overlooked, the fiery young frontier officer and the tough 40-something commander of the Revolutionaries' ragtag Continental Army. Now, where they got that idea that it's overlooked, I'm not sure, because I read about that time and time and time again in the different Washington biographies. So I'm not sure I totally agree with the person on the back cover who wrote this, but I think it's pretty well tread ground. But I still enjoy reading about it, so I'm okay with that. The next one, let's go with this one first. The next one was another Washington book, and I had seen this book a long time ago, and I had wanted it, and I just hadn't come across it, and I finally came across it in the bookstore, and this is Never Caught: The Washington's Relentless Pursuit of Their Runaway Slave, Ona Judge, and it's by Erica Armstrong Dunbar. And I've wanted to read this because, the obvious thing about Washington that bugs most people is, this idea of fighting for freedom and, being the father of the country and everything, but then also that nasty connection to slavery. And so, it's always something that kind of, it bothers me, as it should, and it should bother you. And I've always wanted to read more about that. And like I said, this is going to go well with that. On the back, it is blurbed by Eric Foner, Nell Irvin Painter, Dana Ramey Berry, Fergus Bordowich, Earl Lewis, president of the Andrew Mellon Foundation. So I think only one of those I've actually heard of, Eric Foner. I have a lot of respect for Eric Foner. So this book is from Atria Books, out of New York, and it's a 2017 book. And like I said, I remember when this first came out, and I was very interested in getting it. I just hadn't seen it at the used bookstore. So I'll read the inside flap to you. It says, when George Washington moved from their beloved... When George and Martha Washington moved from their beloved Mount Vernon in Virginia to Philadelphia, then the seat of the nation's capital, they took 9 enslaved people with them. They would serve as cooks and horsemen, as house servants and personal attendants. The North was different for the entire household, free and enslaved, white and black. There was a new climate to adjust to, and new mores as well. Slavery in Philadelphia, at least, was looked down upon. Indeed, there was even a law requiring slaveholders to free their slaves after 6 months. Yet George Washington thought he could outwit and circumvent the law by sending his slaves south every 6 months, thereby resetting the clock. Among the slaves to figure out this subterfuge was Ona Judge, Martha Washington's chief attendant. Having interacted with Philadelphia's sizable free black community, Ona Judge observed and soon longed for liberation. And risking everything she knew, leaving behind everyone she loved and had known her entire life, she fled. Here, then, is the story not only of the powerful lure of freedom, but also of George Washington's determination to recapture his property by whatever means necessary. Never Caught is the only book that examines the life of an 18th century fugitive woman in intricate detail, and it provides a new look at George Washington's relationship to slavery. An important new work on one of the world's most celebrated families, Never Caught, is a must-read for anyone interested in American history. And I am very interested to read this book. And it's not a real big book, as you can see. It's total of 250 pages or so. 253 pages. And so it won't take, I don't think it's going to take really any time to get through it, but I think it's going to have a big impact on my thinking of Washington and just slavery in general. So moving to the next book, let's just go ahead and stick with that same time period, and we'll go to another revolutionary here. And this is Tom Paine's Iron Bridge, Building a United States by Edward G. Gray. And you guys probably know Tom Paine. He was the writer of several different propaganda pieces during the Revolutionary War. Some people call him the father of the American Revolution just because of those works. You know, he wrote famous ones like the Crisis and Common Sense and oh goodness, Reasons. Is it The Age of Reason? So anyway, he wrote several of them, and I'm excited to explore his life a little bit more. It's got blurbs on the back from Alan Taylor, Ray Raphael, Harvey J.K., and Woody Holton. So those are some big authors in this time period. So this is from W.W. Norton and Company out of New York, and it's a 2016 book. And so read this to you. The little-known story of the architectural project that lay at the heart of Tom Paine's political blueprint for the United States. In a letter to his wife, Abigail, John Adams judged the author of Common Sense as having a better hand at pulling down than building. Adams's dismissive remark has helped shape the prevailing view of Tom Paine ever since. But, as Edward Gray shows in this fresh, illuminating work, Paine was a builder. He had a clear vision of success for his adopted country. It was embodied in an architectural project that he spent a decade planning, an iron bridge to span the Schuylkill River at Philadelphia. When Paine arrived in Philadelphia from England in 1774, the city was thriving as America's largest port. But the seasonal dangers of the rivers dividing in the region were becoming an obstacle to the city's continued growth. Philadelphia needed a practical connection between the rich grain of Pennsylvania's backcountry farms and its port on the Delaware. The Iron Bridge was Paine's solution. The bridge was part of Paine's answer to the central political challenge of the new nation: how to sustain a republic as large and as geographically fragmented as the United States. Its iron construction was his brilliant response to the age-old problem of bridge technology: how to build a structure strong enough to withstand the constant battering of water, ice, and wind. The convergence of political and technological design in Paine's plan was Enlightenment genius, and Paine drew other giants of the period as patrons: Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and for a time his great ideological opponent, Edmund Burke. Paine's dream ultimately was a casualty of the vicious political crosscurrents of revolution and the American penchant for bridges of cheap, plentiful wood. But his innovative iron design became the model for bridge construction in Britain as it led the world into the Industrial Revolution. So this is kind of cool. It's going to be a little bit obviously not all about just his writing. So that's going to be really neat to look at, because I was not even familiar with that story at all. Matter of fact, I don't know if I've read a full biography on Tom Paine. I've read some books about his writings, or what was it? It was one of those. It wasn't Bantam Classics. It was Signet Classics. I read a Signet Classics that had all his major works: The Age of Reason, Common Sense, The Crisis, and all the other ones that, or not all of them, but a lot of the other major writings that he did. And I read that, and so I've read his papers, but I have not read necessarily a biography on him yet. So that'll be interesting. So let's get out of the Revolutionary time period and let's move forward to the Civil War, because what would a book haul be without a Lincoln book? And so I found The Living Lincoln, the man in his times, in his own words. Looks like Paul M. Engle and Earl Schenck Miers are your authors or your editors. And this is from, let's see, this particular volume is a Barnes & Noble book out of New York, and this was originally, this collection, it looks like, was originally 1955, but this particular book is a 1992, and it's basically just it's a collection of Lincoln's writings. And I've been, as I've said on the channel, if you have watched very many videos, what I've been trying to do is collect the works of Lincoln. And it wasn't that long ago that I did not have any of his letters and stuff like that. And now I've, over the last, year and a half, 2 years, I've collected several different pieces, and now I got to get to reading them. Although I've read them, separately here and there with my teaching, but yeah, it'll be good to dive into that. So anyway, I've got 2 books left here for you to look at, and they are going to go with my world history class that I teach. And I actually just got done with this unit on the Renaissance and the Reformation. And so these are both dealing with Reformation. So this is by A.G. Dickens, and it's Reformation in Society in 16th Century Europe. And it's the history of European civilization library. The general editor is Geoffrey Barraclough, I think is how you say that. And so it's just these nice short volumes that take these snippets from world history and put it into a nice little collection. This is Harcourt Brace and World Incorporated, and it's a 1966 book, so it's got some age. Now, this particular volume that I picked up has got a lot of ink pen marks in it, which really annoys me, but I like these because they've got all kinds of artwork from the time period that go with the story they're telling. And part of what I'm teaching in this unit is, the Renaissance, and we're looking at artwork. So this is a perfect hand-in-hand combination of the two. And so this one says, the deep impact of the 16th century religion on European society can still be felt in our own time. In this profound but lively study, the movements inspired by Luther, Zwingli, and Calvin are described with the mastery which Professor Dickens' previous work in the field, especially the English Reformation, have led us to expect. Other important influences, such as the radicals, receive equally stimulating treatment, and the numerous illustrations from contemporary sources will help to create a vivid picture of the Reformation as a whole against its social, political, and intellectual background. And that's exactly what I was wanting. And I have read a couple of other books out of this series, and I enjoyed reading them. They helped me a little bit, and so I'm hoping that these are going to as well. This next one is A.G. Dickens, and this is his book, The Counter-Reformation, History of European Civilization Library. Same series. So this one came out in 1969. And again, it's from the same publisher, Harcourt Brace and World Incorporated. And it has all kinds of illustrations, just like the other one did. And so I'm pretty excited to flip through that. And this one says, the reform of the Catholic Church in the 16th century was historically as important as the contemporary Protestant Reformation. Though never committed solely to fighting Protestantism, it inevitably also became a counter-reformation, since it soon faced the threat created by Luther and his successors. The century between the career of Ignatius Loyola and that of Vincent de Paul became a classic age of Catholicism. The lives of its saints, popes, and secular champions could hardly be made more fascinating by any novelist. While paying the due attention to the great characters, the author also considers the broader political, social, and cultural features of the Counter-Reformation. A.G. Dickens is professor of history and director of the Institute of Historical Research at the University of London. His companion volume, Reformation in Society in 16th Century Europe, also in this series, is a standard work on that period. All right, and so I've got 2 books on that period. So I'm really excited about those. Just trying to help myself as a teacher and learn more, because the world history side is not my cup of tea, so to speak. I'm much better at the American history side. So I've been over the last few years trying to pick up books like this just to add to my knowledge of world history to help myself, teaching the kids. And with all those illustrations, it gives me a good idea of, when I put like PowerPoint slides and stuff like that of their notes and stuff together, to add in some of those paintings to help explain what's going on. So anyway, those were the books I picked up this weekend. BookTube. I hope that some of those may look interesting enough for you to pick up. If you've read them, let me know in the comments section. I'd love to have that conversation with you. I hope everybody's having a good start of the week, because I guess today's Monday, so it'd be starting the week. I had a great weekend. I actually had an extended weekend because as teachers with our contracts, we get 2 personal days that we can take. And if you follow the channel, I teach and I also coach a lot. And so between my coaching seasons, I try to use my personal days and, just take a moment to take a deep breath and get recharged, which I'm getting ready to head into track and then very quickly into baseball. So and at one point the 2 seasons are going to overlap. So it's going to get stressful here in the last couple months of school. So I went ahead and took my personal day on Friday and turned my weekend into a 3-day weekend and got to go visit my younger brother. And we had a really, really good time, really good visit. My older brother and my younger brother, we all went out to eat and just spent some time together and absolutely loved that. That's priceless. And that had been the first time I'd seen my brother in a couple years because of COVID. And we just, where he lives, I hadn't been able to go visit him. And so that was really good to be able to connect with him again. And and then the rest of the weekend, we spent Saturday shopping, just looking for some stuff for when we have spring break here in a couple of weeks. We're going to go, I think, on a little vacation, and we were picking up a few things for that. And then yesterday we went to church and then just came home. We kind of just rested the whole week, or the whole day. And my oldest daughter came over and we spent some time together, ate dinner, had some nice potato soup. It was really good. My wife's a really good cook, if I haven't mentioned that before. And I'm not just saying that to get brownie points right now, but she really is. She's a really good cook. But anyway, it's just been a really good couple weeks of school. I got 6th grade kids are going to be finishing up some projects that they've been working on. And I'm hoping that we can get those wrapped up, because we were going to present those towards the end of this week. And then we've got parent-teacher conferences next weekend, next week. And then we've got spring break. And so, things are going to really start flying at school. And that's basically what's going on in life right now, BookTube. I hope everybody's having a great day. I hope everybody is finding some time to read. I'm going to get off here so that you can go read. So until next time, BookTube, happy reading.